Social Sciences from 2017 to 2020. And before that, she served at the SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. And while talking about her academic career, she had her PhD in economics from the University of Mumbai, and she was awarded the visiting fellowship to the London School of Economics and Political Sciences, which is the Association of the Commonwealth Universities, UK in 1992 and 93. And while talking about her academic works, she has authored and co-authored 12 books and edited and co-edited 9 books. So moreover that, she contributed over 100 papers and chapters in various books edited by the others. So, and her research papers, she's and comments and commentaries and reviews, which has been published in the national as well as the international academic journals. So, apart from that, she has been awarded the postdoctoral fellowship from the Association of Commonwealth University that enabled her the work of visiting faculty at the development studies. So in this session, I cordially invite you, ma'am, for the session. And I welcome all of you on behalf of the IWS and the associating partners. Welcome you all to the session, and I think we can start the session.
Yeah. So, good evening, everybody, and I congratulate Association for Women's Studies students and scholars. It is a very important development that has happened in the women's studies movement in our country. And today's lecture about the career opportunities in women's studies, I think is women's studies is facing major challenges. And now we have a long history of nearly 4 decades of its existence. And I thank Professor Mani Meklai to choose this topic and also suggest my name for this lecture. And I thank the co-organizers, Regional Association for Women's Studies, All India Women's Studies Scholars Forum, Revamp Inevitable Youth, and University Grants Commission that recognize 144 women's studies centers over last 30 years, and the Bharatidasan University, which has been backbone of this effort. So I would like to share my PPT. 1 minute. Yeah, it's here. Okay. Now, is it visible? Hello? Is the PPT?
Yes, ma'am. It is visible, ma'am.
Okay. So I think when we talk about the gender discourse, and I think there are people who are interested in women's studies who have not so far been able to join any courses. So they are also joining this course. So I think briefly, I would like to abreast everybody and tell the participants that women's studies as a discipline provides an analytical tool and a worldview to understand status of women and an alternative viewpoint to existing knowledge construction. So I think it is a very important, this insight of women's studies where women have been hidden from the history. They have not been given level playing field, and 5,000 years of patriarchal control over women's sexuality, fertility, and labor has not given them same kind of, they have created a society of male domination and female subordination, which is not healthy for any civilization. So women's studies, through its teaching, training, research, documentation, scholarship, and advocacy, has had a far-reaching impact on knowledge construction process, also the policy making and the legal reforms. We have had series of legal reforms over the last 40 years, and women's studies has played a pivotal role. Women's movement in the late 70s brought new direction, scope, and dynamism to the women's studies, because we know that in Indian context, women's studies got legitimized during the time of emergency, where most of the activists were behind the bar. And it was only in the post-emergency period that the interaction between the academia, the academic, those who were doing research on women, and first of all, that there was, except for Status of Women's Committee, which had done a pioneering work, there was not much that was happening outside, and whatever was happening in a very stereotypical way, without challenging any premise of the mainstream academic, which had a strong patriarchal bias. Over the last 4 decades, women's studies and women's movement have undergone significant change in terms of its scope and also in terms of its focus. So the objective of the women's studies are to facilitate the process of understanding, recognizing, and giving new importance to women's contribution made by both men and women, to examine the reasons of subordination of women and understand the roots of male domination and its manifestation, to empower women to attain gender justice and effective role in the all decision making processes of governance in politics and in each and every sector of the economy, to evolve the alternative development alternatives with women, to ensure visibility of women as change agents for enhancement of status of women, and to identify and understand roots of inequality that result in invisibility, marginalization, and exclusion of women from the intellectual world, to support social action aimed at equality, development, peace, education, health, and employment. And we can say that in last 40 years, women's studies, which have spread across 144 universities, have done a very important role in all these 5 arms: teaching, training, documentation, research, and extension. That means the changing social transformatory processes it has contributed to. UGC in 2019 gave a mandate, and I think many of you who are in women's studies must be familiar with this new document which the UGC had uploaded on its website. And I have even given the web address of this website. And it has declared that a women's studies centers must pursue a comprehensive, critical, and balanced understanding of India's socio-economic realities and governance, and the essential components in this women's studies program should be: number one, women's contribution to society and social processes, and two, women's perception of their own lives, the broader social reality, and their struggles and aspirations. So this is coming right from UGC. So University Grants Commission, which has supported these 144 women's studies centers to come up, and which has given clearly mentioned what are the activities that these women's studies centers have to do: teaching, research, training, documentation, field action, linkages, extension services, and publication. So the whole agenda for the women's studies has been very clearly mentioned by UGC. And we have seen that over last 20 years, we have seen several women's studies centers have come up with the certificate courses, diploma programs, masters in women's studies, MPhil in women's studies, and PhD programs in women's studies. So, and as a result, we have hundreds of postgraduate students, research scholars, and PhD holders in women's studies. So focus areas in the women's studies as per the UGC is that the build new knowledge on women in national and global perspective. Number two, build curriculum in women's studies to meet diverse needs of Indian women with focus on develop inclusive society, to develop an inclusive society. Third one is methods to build conducive environment for women to take up positions of leadership in diverse sectors, which are suggested by the Indian empowerment policy. Conduct evidence-based research on women and economic development, strengthen existing knowledge and build new knowledge on women in Indian perspective to address current and future challenges, and also conduct research on women's contribution to science and technology and suggest methodology to enhance it. The seventh focus area, which is suggested by the UGC, is suggest methods to promote inclusion of women in development of all sectors, including disadvantaged women, women with disabilities, and other vulnerable groups. And eighth mandate is that of a measures to strengthen urban and rural linkages and slum development. And if we see the record of the women's studies centers, I think so many women's studies centers are proactively doing this kind of the activities which UGC has mandated. Even when it comes to the curriculum of women's studies. The 21st century challenges have been included in the women's studies program. The major theories employed in women's studies courses, like there are feminist theories, there is intersectional analysis, standpoint theory, transnational feminism, and social justice issues are also, like distributive justice, gender justice, economic justice. They are being discussed in the women's studies program. And it is a very up-to-date Indian women's studies scholars and Indian women's studies authors and researchers have made a path-breaking contribution in the global discourse. So this has been the record of the women's studies, and the skill sets which are acquired by the women's studies degree holders in course of their master's program or in course of their MPhil program, PhD program, the kind of workshops and seminars and conferences which are organized by women's studies centers, the student and the scholars and the degree holders, they have interdisciplinary perspective, they have an analytical ability to understand and explain and suggest the evidence-based policies regarding the unfolding reality, ability to face field reality. They have a proficiency. Many of women studies scholars have know more than one languages. They know the local language, they know English, they know other link languages. They have a writing skills in proposal making. They know report writing, the program implementation and evaluation work, which the hands-on skill which they have acquired while doing their courses. They are grounded. The women studies scholars, women studies researchers, they are grounded. At the same time, they are intellectually versatile. So it is a combination of theory and praxis that women's studies courses have provided. They are gender sensitive, they are team players, they are respectful of diversity, they are not sectarian, they are not like that, they have a very multicultural outlook, they are peaceful, they know what are the methods of peace building, peacekeeping, peacemaking, and peaceful resolutions of difference of opinion. Like, because we know that if you go talk about the trends in feminism, there are so many trends in feminism. You have a radical feminism, you have a Marxist feminism, you have socialist feminism, you have postmodern feminism, you have eco-feminist, you have a womanist, you have a black feminist, you have Dalit feminist. All of us interact with each other. We may have differences, but we know how to work together to fight against any kind of injustice, oppression, and also to create a society. You create a society based on the foundation of gender justice and gender equality. The approaches adopted by different women study scholars, theoretical approaches may be different. The epistemological moorings may be different. The methods of functioning may be different, but in the final analysis, all of them have strengthened and contributed greatly to to build the women's studies movement. Women studies scholars can also analyze situation. They can reflect on the problems, critically reflect on the problems. They can execute programs. They can suggest the schemes and also work at an implementation level. And they can execute the projects. They envisage the projects with a gender lens, that what kind of impact it will have, gender differential impact, certain phenomena or certain incidences or certain programs or projects can have. They can identify practical gender needs where you don't challenge patriarchy, whole communities with you, and they can also come up with the strategic gender needs which would transform the gender-based power relations in our society. They are trained to challenging jobs like researcher, because all women studies scholars or women studies degree holders, they have done their dissertation. So they have a hands-on, they have done the courses on research methodology. They have it is not only the theoretical knowledge of research methodology, but they have also done the field work and come up with the dissertation. So many of them have also worked as a program officers. They can work as executives, they can work as NGO heads, and they can also be the gender trainer. So when it comes to research, I think women studies scholars, they can evaluate that this is a very important value addition which the women studies programs has given, is a very rigor in research. So to increase the employability of its students and to enhance bargaining power of students in the academic field. to impart appropriate knowledge and information to the students in preparation of professional practices, because you may get a degree in women's studies, but you may want to become a legal right activist, or you may want to work for the international organization, you may want to come out as a copy editor, or you may want to become a documentary filmmaker. So but the foundation of that is a rigor in your research, to develop the ability in the students to understand the process of research, as well as plan and implementation, and also the monitoring and evaluation of the need-based programs. So avenues of employment, even if we see that like women's studies movement globally got its foundation in the 70s, same in India by 1974, we had a first women's studies research unit on women's studies. But that was the time women's studies was treated as the approach at that time was to strengthen mainstream discipline by mainstreaming women's studies. So the existing, like if you have economics department, then you have a paper called economics of gender and development. Or if you have a sociology the discipline, you may come up with the sociology of women, or gender in history for history department, psychoanalysis, psychology of women. So that was that kind of an approach. But standalone program where the women studies need to have disciplinary status, that it is a discipline of its own, it has a it has a vast pool of knowledge construction, and that can be that can strengthen the academia, both existing mainstream disciplines as well as the women's studies as an independent discipline. So that is very important. So we have seen that with kind of a like master's degree or a MPhil degree with such a great level of specialization, which several women's studies organizations have, and they all collaborate with each other. There is a intellectual exchange taking place. There are regional level workshop. Indian Association for Women's Studies acts as a conscience keeper for all women's studies center. Anytime they are in difficulty, anytime they need hand holding support in terms of curriculum development, strengthening the teacher capacity of the newly induction programs of the new faculty in the women's studies centers, and also running the master's program, certificate courses and diploma. So there is lot of collaboration takes place among different women's studies center, and we have 4 or 5 advanced women's studies center, 5 women's studies centers are there. They also do a lot of hand holding. So we have that's why I think women's studies students and scholars and degree holders, they have avenues for employment in terms of working for the foundations with specific focus. So like population foundations, development oriented foundations, or education foundations, or a health public health foundations, or various corporate houses or think tanks where they have a specific focus. And in all these important foundations, they also need they have a gender program. Okay, so they need people equipped with ability to do gender analysis, ability to do the evaluation from the gender lens, ability to do gender audit of any program which they take up, with a gender audit of the institution's priority, gender audits of budget, gender audits of the social programs that they have taken. Corporate houses are also now looking out, whether in the human resource department and also corporate social responsibility department. We have seen that massive recruitment is taking place in, see, you can say Tata Trust or Azim Premji Trust, Mahindra and Mahindra, they have an Annikali program. So there also the women, gender sensitive degree holders get opportunity. Policy analysis is another very important field. The research organizations, think tanks, they want policy analysts with expertise in women's studies, expertise in gender issues. NGO has absorbed quite a big chunk of women's studies degree holders throughout the country. The degree holders with masters in women's studies and MPhil in women's studies, PhD in women's studies, they have, many of them have joined NGOs with the focal points or important focus on education, health, employment, microfinance, violence against women, legal literacy, the running of a magazine, e-magazine or a print magazine. They have found women studies degree holders quite important for the institution. Teaching program, I think that is very important, because main program that currently we have women's studies only at the master's level. That means you need to have that kind of expertise where you can hold the attention for 2 hours of a master's student. That means it demands, it's a very, very demanding to attain that level of intellectual proficiency. So those who are very totally dedicated to going for an in-depth knowledge in women's studies, both because now the kind of women's studies we used to descriptive lectures we used to give during the 80s, and during it was tolerated, but now even the students they demand more and more grounding in various theories, the critical examination of different theories, and also come up with a very original research where you have to do the mentoring for your students. So I think teaching and research, these are the two areas which demands tremendous rigor and intellectual discipline on the part of degree holders, if they are aiming at that. You may clear your JRF, you may get good, but in the classroom situation you can handle or not, because if women's studies comes up, like that is the demand, because national education policy has not mentioned a word term women's studies, but it talks about gender sensitization from preschool to PhD. That means we can now put forward the demand that women's studies, the women's concerns and gender concerns should be included right from preschool to primary school and high school and undergraduate college programs. We in this 2019 announcement by UGC, where they have the appeal they have made is to the colleges, and they have asked the colleges to come up with the women's studies center, and the seed money which would be given by UGC would be 35 lakhs. So many colleges have applied for this scheme, but not they have not received the response. So I think that, but it is a very important point for us to demand that women's gender issues and women's studies should be integrated into the syllabi of school education as well as undergraduate college education, irrespective of the discipline. It should not be taught only in the arts and commerce or arts and humanities, but across the discipline, whether it is a law or engineering or architecture or medicine or science, everywhere in all streams of education, it should be both school education and university education. It should be integrated either as a foundation course, which is compulsory for all students, or also the discipline wise, wherever it is possible, integration of gender concerns. So I think if that happens, then our the women studies degree holders, they would have a major opportunity to build their career within the teaching profession, either at a school level or at a college or university level. Research organizations, whether they are working on the developmental issue or they are working in the various ministries, wherever they have their research endeavor, now the gender has been a very important component in all the researches. In fact, so many international organizations, the international banking, whether it is the Asian Development Bank or whether the international foundations and international NGOs, none of the proposals, even the Oxfam Novib, none of the proposals would be respected if there is a no gender component. So it's a very important, any development oriented research which is happening in that, even the industry is now asking asking for gender sensitivity and integration of gender concerns in whichever endeavor which they are doing, and right from the vision, mission, goals, objectives, program, and schemes and financial allocation. In that, at least in principle, they have accepted. Now we have to advocate for that to be implemented. In the think tanks also, now they are recruiting, like in so many in last 3 years, I have noticed that several degree holders in women's studies and masters in women's studies have joined various think tanks on developmental issues. At the training institute, many women's studies degree holders who are not joining any institution or not taking up any employment, but they are also emerging as a trainer, and there is a great demand for gender trainer in all state this thing. If you know regional languages, well and good, because there is a great demand in the Hindi belt. There is a great demand. There is a tremendous shortage of resource persons and experts who can communicate in English with the proficiency and grounding in women's studies. There is a demand for translators also. Like there are most of the textbooks in women's studies are mostly in English, and some of the important core the textbooks which are the core component, they are also not available in this thing. ICSSR as a major funding for translations, and UGC also has. People don't even send proposals for translation of textbooks or translation of. So I think translation is very important area, because one organization like Maitri, like Kalpana Kandabiran and all, they had taken up this whole thing, translation of women's studies material from English into Telugu. And I think Andhra Pradesh government also introduced women's studies at a school and college level, and that lot of women's studies degree holders started doing that. In Hindi, we see the translations only done by the women's movement people. Women's studies scholars are not doing that. So we have a Tagore in Delhi, and Manjari Equity Asia, Equity Foundation in Patna, Nina Srivastav, who takes out a journal in women's studies called Manjari. It is a e-journal, and Hum Sabla is both. It is in print as well as e-journal, but they also come up with lot of books, translate books for which can be useful for women's studies programs. So that is one very important neglected area which needs tremendous attention. Otherwise, you see the gap between insensitivity between English knowing women's studies scholars and the rest of the degree holders is very, very high, because they have studied in local language where they never got exposure to the women's studies thinking and women's studies discourses. Another thing is that we have seen many women's studies
Yeah,
scholars are now. Yeah,
sorry for the disturbance.
yeah. Hello.
Yeah, there are two questions in the chat box.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm just reading that.
yeah.
Just a minute.
Because
So
mine is
one
a
is
full
that
screen.
yeah.
Yeah.
One is from Lata Pujari. It's like is
Lata
it
Pujari.
possible?
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Is it possible for women's studies centers to play a crucial role in research area which has been given special emphasis in the new education policy 2020?
Yeah, so the new education policy 2020 is talking of National Research Foundation. So everybody, each and every researcher will have to do the open bidding. That means you have to compete this thing. The priority areas in, as per the National Education Policy 21st century is the knowledge economy, how to build the knowledge economy, and that how to bring the gender sensitivity is a priority area. There are, I think, around 7 to 8 pages which talk about gender studies without mentioning name of women's studies. So I think the priority areas currently, if we are see that when it comes to women, first of all, it is a work participation of women in different sectors of the economy, because in India we have seen there is a continuous decline of work participation from the year 2000 till 2021. So that is a one very important area. Other one, that what will be the scope for women in the future of economy? So future of economy where the massive automation is coming, we have artificial intelligence, robotics, massive mechanization that is playing very important role. So that is the second very important area about the future of where do women fit in the gig economy, where do women fit in the what you call mechanized and the newly mechanized economy, the platform-based economy. Third area is that of a care economy, which is globally being discussed. ILO is also discussing, and where there is a unduly great burden on women when it comes to care economy. And in India, it is gaining very important significance, mainly because birth rate is going down, families have less number of children, life expectancy is increasing. So there are families where you have a 4 generations of people to look after. You are not only looking after your aging parents, but you are also looking after your aging grandparents. Kerala is already experiencing that. So care is becoming very important, care work. And when you have such pandemic, again, care work becomes very important. How to reduce care work, how to redistribute care work. Care work is not only women's work, that means we have to challenge the gender stereotypes and also reward care work. Why domestic workers are paid the least? They are also part of the care work. So these service providers, elderly care provider, and we need to have a proper labor laws, proper labor standards. So that is a third very important area. And the fourth very important concern in women's studies is also the violence against women. Why the intensity and the extent of violence against women and girls, that has been gender-based violence, that is a very important challenge. And what kind of new society we want to have, how to change the mindset of people, how to challenge this gender stereotypes, how in the name of custom and tradition honor crimes are taking place, or acid attacks have increased so much. Women being killed as witches was not such a generalized phenomena which it has become now in 16 states. So the priority areas which are challenges for the 21st century India, if your research proposal are addressing those concerns, then there are there are chances for your research. This thing. ICSSR and ICHR will not be touched; they will remain. ICSSR will remain as a funding organization, but university-based research projects will be entertained only by the National Research Foundation, and where the research projects from all over India will go, and they will have to do the bidding. Currently, we do the bidding, and for any international project we have, everyone has to bid. You have to fill up the form online, and then there is an international comparison, and it's a very strict rules of evaluation that you are facing. So that is why. Yeah. The second question. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello,
The
hello, ma'am. The second question was, what is the difference between women studies and gender studies?
Yeah.
Is both of the studies have the same opportunities?
Yeah. See,
That from Sukosuman.
Yeah. So women's studies focuses on the patriarchy, male domination. That is a major axis around which the women's study examines predicament of women. Though it accepts that it is the interplay of caste, class, race, religion, location that determines the status of women. But the focus is on patriarchy. While the LGBTQIA movement has challenged this gender binary of man and women, talking only about the male domination and subordination of women. And that, so one challenge has come from LGBTQIA movement and also the transgender movement, which says that there are not only two genders, you have to go beyond gender binary. And when we talk about the gender studies, our focus is on socially constructed gender and the power relations that are determined by the intersectionality of the variety of marginalities and intersectional power relations that we have. So currently we see more and more women's studies center, though they are called women's studies center, but the analytical framework which they use is that of gender. Gender has become a very important analytical category, especially after 1985 Nairobi forward-looking strategy, where there after the decade of women's International Women's Decade, 1985 to 1975 to 1985. The deliberations and the evaluation of those 10 years also made women activists understand that if we focus only on women, then who are at the bottom of the pyramid of our world economy, we don't gain. We need to sensitize the man who are in position of power, because most of the apex bodies of power structures are in the hands of men, and we need to bend these power structures by sensitizing the people. And just by biologically becoming woman, if you are a woman biologically, that doesn't mean that you are fighting for women, because we have seen in cases of dowry or in cases of sex determination test, mother only aborts her female fetus, or a women in the family, they pressurize the newly married daughter-in-law to produce a male baby. So it is not a question of whether you are a biologically woman or man, but how sensitive you are for the gender equality, and what kind of equity measures do you suggest and support in your personal life and also in the community life, and what you demand in a political sphere. So I think we see that, but in India we have not seen so much of the previous generation of women studies scholars, the pioneers and the founders of Indian Association of Women Studies Scholars. They were initially they were jittery when people started talking about gender, and especially in the many European universities in the 90s started creating a gender studies center as well as men's studies center, masculinity center, and the women's studies center. They felt that it will take away the political uh, what you call sharpness of the women's studies center. That was the fear they had shown. But among this younger generation, I don't see that type of anxiety, that just because if we adopt gender as an analytical category, it is going to take away the focus from subordination of women. In fact, all types of subordination of human beings in a power relation, we need to take up. Women's studies believes in the solidarity across variety of marginalities. So, yeah. So can I go ahead?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so another important and the successful experiences that which women studies scholars have had is as a journalist. There are many degree holders in women studies who have joined as a journalist. In fact, several of my students are the journalists, either in English or in regional languages. We have also seen that women studies scholars have also joined art world, or they were artists. They were artists in making, and they also did the women's studies course, which enhanced their sensitivity and perception of the complexity of gender relations in our society. Filmmaking, screenplay writing, cinematography, dialogue writer, subtitle makers, there are many women who are also taking up this kind of job as assignment. They would not, it's not 9 to 5 job, but they would take up as an assignment. Communication officers in women's organization, because women studies scholars with all the NGOs, they like to employ uh, 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 degree holders with grounding in women's studies, so that if they can bring gender sensitivity in whatever newsletters or publications or leaflet or press conferences, press release they come out with, and whatever merchandise or a material they generate, whether it is a posters or leaflets or training modules which they prepare, where they can bring the wisdom of women's studies in their expressions. Then counselor are in this women's studies scholars. Many organizations providing institutional support to women in social distress, whether it is at hand holding, counseling, implementation of protection of women from Domestic Violence Act, POCSO Act. There also they are employed as counselors. They may have to do on the job training, some short course which the institution may organize, and they do that. Cultural program coordinators are also there, where there are groups which are the street theater groups or cultural organizations which are like NGO focusing only on cultural activity. There too they have opportunity. Diversity officer, all corporate houses now, at least Fortune 500 corporate house, corporation, they have in principle accepted that to avoid any kind of a stereotypical behavior on the part of their employees or in the management. They need to have a diversity officer who would organize on the job training programs, talks, seminars, and we have seen that many corporate house officers have also had, like I know of a Jindal Still, Larsen and Toubro. They also have a diversity officer who make the employees gender sensitive to the problems faced by people with disability, women. Among women also, young unmarried women, they are free, but when women have a small baby, the sensitivity that you can't keep the meeting at 6 o'clock in the evening because she has to pick up her child from the crash. So that level of, so avoiding microaggression, because microaggression is not that you are killing each other, shouting at each other, abusing each other, or hitting each other, but that microaggression that you see because of the insensitivity among colleagues, even to deal with that, diversity officer becomes very important, and they organize training programs and what they call workers education program, staff education program on the how to how to respond to the diversity and how diversity is very important for the growth of the institution. The human rights organizations, now most of the, after 1993 Vienna Congress of the UNHRC, United Nations Human Rights Council, where the women's rights are human rights, that slogan was adopted and the resolution was passed that all human rights organizations have to also take up women's rights organizations. So we can see right from international organizations like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Commonwealth Human Rights Commission, and the local human rights groups, networks, all of them have now very strong component on gender and the violation of human rights of women. They are taken seriously. Violation of human rights of the transgender persons, especially after, in our country, United Nations told all the member countries to come up with the gender sensitive laws and provisions for the security of transgender community and LGBTQIA community. In 2019, our country also came up with the Transgender Persons Act, which is highly inadequate and highly what you call, you can say that it has so many limitations in it. But still it is there, and that the organizations and are working to make this law, bring amendments in this law as per the demands of the transgender community and the transgender movement. So I think human rights organizations also is one very important avenue for employment. International development organizations working either on climate change or environmental sustainability, and we have seen that Millennium Development Goals had 8 goals, and Sustainable Development Goals have 17 goals and 618 targets. So for every goal, there have been so many organizations working. So in this, and that is an approach which the Sustainable Development Goals have adopted, is that SDG 5 is focused on women, but all 17 goals have to integrate gender concerns. So I think that so the NGOs and the organizations which are funded by the UN, UNDP, UNFPA, WHO, FAO, ECOSOC, all of them are also there. Also, one can apply. Some of the alumni of TISS Women's Studies program, they are working with the UN organizations such as ILO or WHO or UN Women. Currently also they are working. Economics of gender and development, that is another very important area where the possibilities of employment are very high, because if you have a grounded in the gender economics, then gender budgeting is a buzzword. Everybody is doing gender budgeting. Every state government, Panchayati Raj institution, and the union government, international bodies, all of them have to do gender audit of budget and also gender budget making. So if you have proficiency, and if there are certain, like if your Women's Studies Center starts a course on gender audit of budgeting or gender budgeting as a process, gender participatory approach in gender budgeting. So gender responsive participatory budgeting. Then there are many, like I have seen in Malaysia, in Thailand, in Philippines, there are NGOs working exclusively on capacity building of the elected representatives, of the people in different secretariat and the government departments, ongoing program on gender responsive participatory budgeting that is taking place. And there are there are women studies degree holders who have specialization in gender and development. They join. Now, if we see the current scenario in our country, so we are seeing that there are outreach workers in community services. There also there is a demand for gender sensitivity. Research associate in think tanks, whether they are working on livelihood, education, health, environment, climate change, peace, legal literacy, and advocacy. You have organizations like Lawyers Collective, India Center for Human Rights and Law, Partners in Law and Development, legal aid and legal aid centers. There also there is a demand. Even those who are working on organizations on a farm sector, on agrarian sector, even the organizations dedicated to the peace, the issue of peace, peacemaking, peace building, peace. Mm, mm, uh, uh, and conflict resolution. They also they are interested in employing women studies scholars. Legal literacy, advocacy, and social justice issues, energy, science and technology, cultural alternatives. What kind of, we have a gender stereotypes, and creation of an alternative within in the cultural sphere, and also media. Their opportunities are increasing. Donor relations coordination in the charities, that's also very important. So many foundations have started the charities in that, how to do this work for what are the gender specific issue, what are the practical gender needs, what are the strategic gender needs, and what kind of intervention that we can make by using participatory action research as a methodology which is taught in women's studies. As a coordinator in social and government services, as a policy analyst in government and advocacy group. So many state governments are taking women studies scholars as a policy analyst. Most of them are currently from the degree holders from Oxford and European countries, because in India there is not many who have done this kind of a super specialized courses. Survey analyst in NGOs and also corporations, and also editor and journalist in media, and gender officer in funding organizations, because many it is a mandatory for these funding organizations to have a gender officer. So we see that the career plans, when you are making career plans, there are the opportunities are in the government and community organizations, arts and media, politics and law, education sector, mental health facilities, where there are now increasingly new organizations focusing on mental health are coming up. Online counseling as well as face-to-face counseling they are doing. Non-profit organizations, in that you can work as a social activist. Okay, there also you are paid. In the government jobs, those who are doing UPSC, MPSC, health, to get a career in health sector, or even as a government teacher in a government school, government college, universities, even journalists within the government departments. Every government department needs a journalist. They have their own bulletin, right from police department to planning commission. All of them have their newsletter or magazine, okay, which goes to the different departments. Like Ministry of Urban Affairs, they have given that job to All India Institute of Local Self-Government, and they bring out Urban World. And there also they need a person with a background in women's studies, and also as a consultant that you know. So I think it's very important that we also learn and we sharpen our intellectual tools, we sharpen our tools to like gather information, review that information, evaluate and interpret information, present information and ideas clearly, develop interdisciplinary analytical skills, develop ability to utilize scholarly and cultural materials that we come across, think critically about production of knowledge, turn theoretical concepts into action, develop teamwork skills, and understand group dynamics, Proficiency in quantitative and qualitative analysis is very good. I congratulate some of the programs which the Association of Women Studies Scholars is organizing. They are directed to capacity building so that you don't lose out. You have your knowledge of women studies, and you are also doing the value addition by bringing some of the new skills and whatever state of the art developments that have taken place in the field of women's studies and other social science, in other social sciences. Rapid assessment and situational, and you must have seen in last 9 months under the corona pandemic, different research methodologies. People have taken online interviews, people have taken telephonic interviews, they have used WhatsApp videos for their research. You see the 5 reports which were released yesterday by Indian Social Studies Trust, founded by Professor Devki Jain. Rapid assessment studies they have done on women in informal sector, rapid assessment studies done by the SWAN, where 40-50 NGOs came together and did a study on migration, walking with the migrant, the study done by Indian Social Institute. So this also, the rapid learning, the rapid assessment wherever there is disaster, wherever there is calamity, where the immediate situational analysis has to be done. Like we were given, 5 of us who have domain knowledge of the minority issues, we were asked by the Chief Minister of Maharashtra to come up with the status report within 6 months, socioeconomic status of Muslims in Maharashtra. Data were given by the state government. They also gave us the Muslim dominated areas where the literacy, the issues of literacy, employment, youth unemployment, drug addiction, which were high, and what kind of developmental investment which the government could make. And we had to identify that in the chapter on gender that we had to prepare for the leadership among Muslim women. So rapid assessment and situational analysis, evidence-based policy formulation, and entry points for gender mainstreaming. If this kind of skills we have, then it is very, very handy. It is very useful for the work. So why do we need gender mainstreaming? And I think I need not tell you, because you people all know that what kind of gender differentiation, gender inequality, gender-based division of labor, and gender differential expectation. What do we expect from men? What do we expect from women? What do we expect from our colleague who is a man, and our colleague who is, and every field of life that is happening. So I think this skill is important. In the private sector, when we talk about the job opportunities for women studies degree holders, is that the private sector has also come up with its think tank. They also do gender impact analysis, indexing metadata. Currently, everyone talks about the big data. You must have read in the newspapers about the controversies about bad data. Another thing is gender disaggregated data management, whether it is a migration or a women farmers. Yesterday was a women farmer day, and we say that how they get invisibilized. Among the migration also, the only discourse is that women migrate for marriage. Okay, they don't. So these are the stereotypes still existing. So I think it's the gap analysis, the data gap that we have, that is also very important. Identification of gender focal points, and also preparation of policy briefs for these private institutions, whether they are NGOs or whether they are industry or whether they are think tanks. A foundation of the business houses, they also need this kind of a gender impact analysis. Research and development section of the legal firms, because every lawyer, every legal firm, there are big firms also, they are small, but all of them have to do research, and they have to provide the gender analysis in their case, in the case that they are building up. Media houses, gender is very important component for the print media, for the audiovisual media, for the social media, for the blogs and portals which are there. This thing, television channels, newspapers, magazines, journals, paralegal organization who do the advocacy, who demystify the law, who popularize what are the new legal this thing and what are the gender implications. Like currently, lot of Oxfam and many organizations are doing the gender implications of 4 labor codes that have come up. Currently, Makamis has done a very good analysis of the 3 farm laws. How are they going to impact small farmers, marginal farmers, agricultural workers, consumers, and most important, the women who farmers, who constitute 65% of the workforce in the farm sector. Consultancy firms, they also have now a gender risk, and also in the translation work that we can do. In government services, I think government departments, whether it is the Census of India, National Sample Survey, sample survey system, SRS, which provides the basic data on the demography and population. They also now they have a lot of data to be collected and analyzed on gender issues, or on male-female gap that we have. Agricultural Commission, Labor Commissioner, Industrial Commission, Ministry of Women and Child Development, all of them are conducting surveys. Currently, you must have read in yesterday's paper that Labor Ministry came up with the 4 major surveys on pandemic. What impact did it have on different segments of the workforce in Indian economy? So in that also, you need gender sensitive analysts and researchers. So, and these researches are used to forecast consequences of new legislation, new policies such as social security, or the use of reports and statistics to make allocation for gender budgeting. You just can't arbitrarily put the amount. Financial allocation cannot be done. How much of funds and functions and functionaries will be required? For it is all based on the economic survey, on the data that is provided. So it is very important that when it comes to women's studies, people with proficiency in women's studies and expertise in women's studies, they can work in teaching, training, research, helping careers. With a degree in English, you have more global opportunities you can think about. You can work in public sector, and you can also do like teach in the postgraduate department. Now, currently, our association or Women's Studies Center, or all of us who are facing the threat of and the way Women's Studies Centers are kept on oxygen, and every time one has to mobilize, all the Women's Studies Centers have to come together. Indian Association of Women's Studies and Professor Mani Meklai, they have to really do running around from pillar and post to see to it that you get extension for 6 months. I think this is a very uh, uh, deplorable condition, and we need to lobby. We need to build the public opinion by our tongue power, by our lung power, by our writing, by our research, by our public talks, that women's studies must get status as an academic discipline, independent discipline. And women's studies, introduction of gender sensitive curricula in all subjects from preschool to PhD should be there, which will also provide the opportunity to degree holders to get teaching a job, training job in school and university education. Foundation course in women's studies for all streams, whether it is arts, science, commerce, management, professional courses, law, medicine, architecture, engineering. It is only one university in our country which has introduced foundation course to all the students of the university. That's SNDT Women's University. Professor Suma Chitnis, when she was Vice Chancellor, she made it mandatory for all students to have a 100 marks paper called Women in Changing India. It was introduced in 1990, and still it is continuing. So I think that is very important. Employment of MA, MPhil, PhD degree holders in women's studies in schools, colleges, and universities. That should be, we must demand from the state governments and UGC, MHRD, and also we should build a national level movement with this kind of a mandate in our hand and with this kind of agenda in hand. So, there are like if we get united, if we start speaking and articulating our concern for women's studies scholars, women's studies degree holders, and women's studies as a discipline, then only we will achieve. I think it is very important for all of us to speak out and repeatedly make this demand in all the platforms, whether it is in front of media, whether it is in front of educational institution, wherever we are giving our webinars and talks and writing papers on this subject, and using as many platforms as possible, both in English as well as in regional languages, becomes very important. Thank you very much. And I once again thank Professor Mani Meklai for suggesting my name, because that made me also to reflect, because I have been in the women's studies. I had degree in economics after MA, and my association with Dr. Neera Desai, whom we consider as mother of women's studies. She is the one who oriented me to women's studies. She introduced me to women's studies as a discipline. Towards equality report was being debated, and from there, increasingly my interest from economics, pure economics, started reducing, and I became a dedicated activist for the women's studies movement. And I think that is where this last 40 years has taught me that without asking for food, even mother doesn't give us. So I think we women studies scholars, we should not become sacrificial goat. Those who have invested their best years of their life in doing MA, MPhil, PhD, they must get respectable career. They must get respectable opportunities to use their knowledge, not only for themselves, but for the social transformation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your enriching session. Now we can move to our question and answer session.
Yeah.
You can. We have a few questions in the chat box.
Yeah.
The first one from. Okay. Ma'am, there's a question from Dakshina Bhatt to everyone.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you suggest
what
is
do you
better
suggest-
for? Yeah.
Hello. Ma'am, what do you suggest is better for a students doing masters in gender studies who wants to stay in academia, pursue MPhil, PhD in gender studies, or do another masters in a different field and apply the gender lens to another field and then do PhD?
No, I think it is very important, because if we are, there are programs which are happening in women's studies. Increasingly, more and more institutions are starting masters, and MPhil is now gone. The National Education Policy MPhil program is scrapped. So it is a masters and PhD program. But now, with the Women's Studies Center starting at a college level, many colleges will also start women's studies either as a diploma or as a certificate course or as a special subject, a BA in women's studies. So far, there are no such programs happening. But I think there is a possibility, there are various opportunities for MA women's studies to go for PhD in women's studies, because specialization in women's studies is a great need of an hour. I would suggest that, yeah, that you should continue with women's studies. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is from, I can read the name.
Yeah.
So it's in Kannada, I think.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the question is there any career opportunities in medical field for women's studies?
Yeah, because there is a big project which is going on. It's called Gender in Medical Science. You know that medical science is also full of biases. Okay, there are so many studies. Amita Pitre, Amar Jesani, Mala Ramnathan, all of them have done a greater work, and now medical colleges are also organizing workshops to change the syllabus, because syllabus in medicine, whether it is in surgery or anatomy or public health or preventive and social medicine, casualty ward, everywhere there are the gender biases, and especially influence of Freud, especially when it comes to violence against women. They go by what Freud had said, that women and children can never be trusted. Their testimonies should be taken with pinch of salt. It is still there. So the gender in medical science is a very important area globally as well as in India. That who wrote these textbooks? The textbooks were written by the male doctors, and these male doctors had the same stereotypical understanding of man and male female relationship. So I think even when it comes to endurance of pain, attitude towards reproductive health of women, attitude towards the mental health of a person when you happen to be a man or when you happen to be a woman, attitude towards violence. In most of the cases of violence against women, the casualty ward person would not even write, they wouldn't even ask that what happened to her. They would just read wounds on the hand, blood coming out from the forehead. They would not write the reason that she was beaten up, or she faced domestic violence. Only after 10 years of rigorous training that you got this kind of gender sensitivity among doctors. That was only in a couple of hospitals in India where the training was done. So there is a very important intervention is required. There are only, I can see only three organizations which are doing that. One is a Sehat in Mumbai. They have done a lot of training on medical intervention in response to violence against women. That is one. Then another thing is how to conduct the medical examination in cases of survivor of violence, or even conducting post-mortem of a person who has been violated and killed. Okay, Hathras issue, you have seen, no, how they kill the evidences. So medical legal aspect. Another thing is about the dying declaration. Women dying of burns, women dying of acid attacks, how the police behaves with them when they are in pain, they are asking for water, and how the dying declarations are manipulated by the corrupt policemen. They take bribe from the accused, and they just destroy the evidences. So there are various aspects of medical sciences and subjects in medical sciences, they need gender sensitivity. And there is a great scope. Currently, some 7 or 8 hospitals in our country, they have agreed to start a gender sensitivity program on gender in medical education. And they have been doing Forum for Medical Ethics. SAMA is an organization in Delhi, and Medico Friends Circle is an all India body of the doctors and health activists, and Sehat, they are the ones who are doing this kind of training. Yeah. There are many
Ma'am,
of
the next
yeah.
question is from Anida.
Yeah.
What do, ma'am, can you please highlight organization and institutions seeking training in documentation of web video in gender and women studies? I would
Yeah.
be happy to give online expertise in the same. I have been teaching the same since 17 years.
Yeah, the pioneering work which is done by on audio and video is by Sparrow. Sparrow is a audiovisual archives which started by Ambai. She writes in Tamil and English also. Dr. She S. Lakshmi, and their office is in Mumbai, but they have all their resources, audiovisual resources, which they have generated over last 30 years. It was founded in 1980, and 1980, it was reaching out. The name of that organization was Reaching Out, and the audiovisual archives were created in 1990. So in last 30 years, whatever work they have done, you can access it on Google if you do. Another organization which is online archives are by uh, Prajna. Prajna is a Chennai-based organization. Swarna Rajgopal, she's the one who is doing there. Also, they have a small videos. Then they give training, ongoing training programs. They have all over. Even under the COVID lockdown, they came up with series of series of small rapid assessment studies and surveys, and they also organize gender training programs. Every year they have a campaign from 25th November to 10th December on violence against women, various aspects of violence against women. Each year they take one theme, and they also come up with the status report. So that is the second archive. Third archive is that by Avabai Vadia Audiovisual Archive, that is housed in Research Center for Women's Studies. They got the endowment from Dr. Avabai Vadia, who inherited whatever money she had, whatever she had, income she divided, she gave part of it to Population Foundation of India, part of it she gave to nearly 2 crore rupees endowment she gave to SNDT Women's University to start archives in her name, that is Avabai Vadia Audiovisual Archives. They also have a fellowship. Every year they give a fellowship to the researcher. They also organize workshops. They organize Avabai Vadia Memorial Lecture. And the fellowship which each researcher gets it is in the area of reproductive health, and that is 50,000 rupees you get to come up with a monograph. So that is there. So that is a third archive. Another archive which was started by Center for Women's Development Studies, Delhi. It was called genderbar.gen. Okay, that is a very important and where all the gender resources created in the SAARC countries. Like it's not only India, but Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Afghanistan, all these countries, whichever gender resources or the women's studies publications or resources or posters or documentary films, they were housed in this thing. So archives has now taken up as is taken up as a very important concern to keep the collective memory of women's movement and women's studies and women's lives for the posterity. Another thing is feminism in India. That is also a very important portal in which they have a women in history section in that, which is where they source rare archival material and come up with the profile, audiovisual, this thing, and the documentation of photographs and all that. That is by the young people. They are young women. But that is a feminism in India. I think that they have a Facebook page. They are active on Instagram and also Twitter, and they have their own blog. So now the digital communities have been created. If you see the feminist movement and the women's studies movement, they have created their own digital communities where the archives are a very important source of sourcing the material as well as adding whatever archives you have. Like Prajna made an appeal that whatever photographs you have of your great grandmother, or about education, about the struggle, about their dress code, about what all contribution they made to the freedom movement, you had to share to Prajna. And Prajna collected a lot of such material in their archives. And it is in public domain. You can easily download. They are not charging.
There is a suggestion from Dakshan, but the coordinators have to take initiative for introducing the subject all over the colleges and higher secondaries.
Yeah.
So make this a very non-subject among masses. I think it's a very relevant comment.
Very, very important. And that we will have to, I think, nationally will, because we can start from national education policy, which talks about diversity, respect for diversity and gender sensitization. It has not mentioned women's studies, though women's studies movement has made 40 years of contribution. There are 144 women's studies center. There is no mention of women's studies in the national education policy, but it does talk about gender sensitization from preschool to PhD. So we can start from there, and they said it can happen only when we start educational program in school education, whether it is a Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan or whether it's a government school, private school, everywhere mandatory mandate should be given to each and every at every level for introduction and gender mainstreaming and introduction of women's studies as a separate subject, and also employment for the degree holders in women's studies. And state governments, because education finally is a state subject, so we'll have to convince the state governments also. The way Andhra Pradesh did it, because Andhra Pradesh now they have introduced from 12th standard also they have women's studies, and they did a massive mission of making women's studies literature available in Telugu. So I think similarly all state governments should be asked to do that. No?
Ma'am, there is a request from it's a question from Kalai Selvi. Ma'am, any possibility implementation of UG Women Studies degree in colleges?
That's what I think now they are talking after this announcement by UGC last year in 2019, where the colleges are asked to start Women's Studies Center. And the seed money of 35 lakhs would be given by UGC. They have started this thing, like Sophia College, Dr. Lata Pujari is here. They have started a diploma in women's studies for undergraduate students. So far, it's quite successful. For quite some time it has been going on. This center is a 20-year, it is an 18-year-old. It was established in 2001, so 19-year-old. So and they started several certificate courses and one course on empowerment of women, which is, I think, recognized by UGC. So if you start, then you get the support of UGC. They get support from UGC. So I think now we have to encourage more and more colleges to start either women's studies as a subject for sociology, psychology. It can be, because now we are talking about credit system, and credits can be extended. So if you start a credit course in women's studies with the way Research Center has done, Research Center for Women's Studies is a 4-credit one paper called Women's Studies, which any student can take. Student of music or student of home science or technology or pharmacy, they can also take this 4-credit course, and you can do it. You can do the program. TISS has this provision at an MPhil level, where one paper for MPhil, where a student from any school, whether it is School of Law or School of Management, School of Social Work, they can take this paper as a credit sharing program. So it started like that. So many colleges have started this kind of a 4-credit program, where you have to exchange the credit across the disciplinary boundary. You can do women's studies.
Ma'am,
And
the next
foundation
question
course
is,
you can definitely do. Any university can, if you can have foundation course on environmental safe environment, you have a foundation course on ancient Indian history and civilization. You have a foundation course on this thing of what you call peace. There are many universities that have had that, and conflict resolution. So I think foundation course on women's studies is not a difficult thing. Any university can do it. The interdisciplinary board of studies or even Senate can make the proposal, and it can be started. So across the university, across the different departments of the university, either both at a PG, UG level, because foundation course is generally at the UG level. TISS has a foundation course even at the PG level. They have one is a compulsory foundation course in SEM 1, and SEM 2 they have a optional paper. So there are in women's several options are there. One of them is women's studies. Yeah.
Hi, Vibhuti. I just supplement
Yeah.
as far as this foundation course is concerned. In fact, as you said, some of the universities are offering foundation course, and here in Bharatidasan we have introduced long back as UG final year foundation course on gender studies. But the issue is that the course is being taught by the teachers already there in the college. So the very expectation from the women's studies is that at least teachers from women's studies will be appointed to teach women's studies. But unfortunately, it is not. And what is being taught under that? Because here in our university, we have published 2 books, both in English and Tamil. So that book is available at a very nominal price like 40 rupees, and entire syllabus is being covered. So sometimes this is not being taught, and the students read and give their feedback very positive feedback that it has been very much rewarding to do this course, etc. But unfortunately, gender studies or women studies graduates or postgraduates are not being absorbed to teach that course. That is this women studies forum students forum should lobby for that, so that wherever women studies foundation courses are being offered, it is like 150 colleges here in Bharatidasan University in 8 districts. So at least 2 to 3 teachers can be appointed drawing from women studies, but that is not happening because now it is all about budget, etc., etc. So existing positions are being divided to each other courses also, instead of absorbing.
What about Andhra Pradesh? Because Andhra Pradesh have introduced women's studies in school also, no?
Yeah. They have also brought like us like the books and training manuals.
Yeah.
But the point is that if English is to be taught, they will be recruiting English teacher. If maths is to be taught, maths. But it doesn't happen for women studies. That is the cause of worry, whether it is women
So I
studies
think
or women.
so I think most
So
important thing is
here comes the
disciplinary
role of this
status.
women studies students forum. So wherever the foundation courses being are offered, whichever state, Mangalore University is offering to all the affiliated colleges in Karnataka. So it must be there in other parts of the country. So at least you have to all lobby for in this forum that wherever the foundation course is being offered, that women studies or gender studies graduates are absorbed. That is what we have to lobby for.
Yeah.
And one more aspect, like somebody was asking about Kudumbashri, the positions advertised, and there are also this RUSA grant is being given to social sciences, in which you have at least around 40 to 50 positions are being advertised for social sciences, project fellows. So that is, I am talking about Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu universities. It may be happening in other parts of the country also. Please make a note of it and then do it.
So I think these best practices can be, I think, taken up, no, and told other state governments that if Kerala can do it, why not others, no? So I think that is very important. Yeah, for point for this. But I think we will have to make concerted and consistent effort for to see to it that it is.
Yeah. Ma'am, there is a question from Yamini.
Uh-huh.
That recently in the state of Kerala, Kudumbashri opened up several managerial posts, but
Yeah.
none of the posts is advertised for women studies trained scholars or gender trained scholars. So how can we get them to recognize us more? This sidelining is often felt even in the state departments calls for application for employment. And adding to it, ma'am, we have for the state of Kerala, we have only one department for women's studies. So we had a center which is started in 1986 for women's studies in Kerala University, but still now it's not functioning or it's not transformed that as a department. For the state of Kerala, we have only one department.
Yeah, but that departmental status ministry has to give, no? Ministry of HRD has to acknowledge it as a department. Otherwise, they will remain only UGC supported centers or independent centers. Because in certain areas, like in Kolhapur University, the private foundation, they have given the corpus to start the women's studies. So it is funded by the Honorable Minister Sharad Pawar's mother. In her name, they have given. But I think MHRD has to do it. No, it has to happen at a national level, that women's studies gets a departmental status. UGC and MHRD, I think they have to declare that, because otherwise they are powerless. Because after all, Kerala University also depends on the UGC funding. No, apex body is UGC. And UGC goes by what MHRD, and now we have a separate ministry, Ministry of Education. So we have to make representation to Ministry of Education that women's studies must get departmental status. Yeah, that is very important. Because
Okay.
universities, they will say that what do we do? They are helpless. They have to follow the mandate of UGC.
Ma'am, regarding Yamini's concern that
Now,
the Kudumbashri opened up several managerial posts and it doesn't recognized or doesn't call for a graduate from women's studies or
no, but
gender studies
were
background.
they told not to apply? Or it was open for all?
Yeah, it's open for all.
Huh?
But in the they called for the managerial posters,
Huh?
but none of the posters advertised for women's studies or trained scholars from the gender studies backgrounds.
No, but they applied and they were not selected in the interview. What do you mean? The way Bihar did, the women's studies scholars should not apply. Did they write like that, or they were not selected? They applied but were not selected.
I don't know, ma'am.
Were they prevented from applying? I don't think so.
I think the question is like that. I think they prevented from applying.
They were prevented from applying. How? Was it written that women's studies graduates should not apply? Please. Masters in women's study or MPhil in women's study or PhD in women's study scholars should not apply. Did they write that in
No, ma'am.
advertisement? Right? Huh?
No, they have not written that women's studies scholars shouldn't apply, but they never explicitly ask for women's studies as being a category of students who can apply for these things.
That you can't do that, no. Because if it is a job of an accountant or job of a management or job of a legal advisor, job of a
No, ma'am, these
production.
are program manager positions.
So program manager has to be overall, no, not only women's study. Anybody can apply. Program manager has to look after all the aspects of institution, no, finance and procurement of whatever are the activities happening at this. And women's studies can also apply. It's like that, no. You can't
And
just say that it should be women's studies will get preferential treatment. That cannot be there. A woman degree holder in science or woman degree holder in management or woman degree holder or a degree holder in finances will also be equally useful to
But,
Kumbhashri, no?
ma'am,
They are into
when they
production.
sorry ma'am, when they ask for qualifications, they say masters in social work, masters in development studies, masters in rural management. When they ask explicitly for these courses,
Huh?
it sort of feels like we are invisible
But
in this arena.
we are development studies, no? Women's
Um,
studies is a develop, like in TISS, we have a advanced center for women's studies is in School of Development Studies. So women's studies come under social science or development studies. Development studies is also interdisciplinary subject where you have a people person with it.
But the concern she expresses that it is not being recognized by the recruitment agencies.
Oh, okay. At an
We
operational
recognize
level.
that it is,
yeah.
it is under development studies or social sciences, but unfortunately the recruitment, even to recently Tamil Nadu government, it was for some positions in the something related to the helpline.
Yeah.
So there was no women studies added. It was very much requiring women protection officers, something like that. And I wrote to them back saying that women studies should be included, and they said no, this time we have already advertised, so next time onwards we will include. So that is
Okay.
that was the
So I think
response.
we have to continuously hammer and also take
Yeah.
up to the body, because now the Women's Studies Secretariat is in Kerala, it is in Calicut. Two office bearers, our ex-president and current secretary, both are in Kerala. So I think we have now a platform through which we can, I think, put forward the demand that why Women's Studies is being excluded.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is voicing our concern. That's very important. And now because there is this body, this whole association is there, then we can take it forward wherever there is wisdom, the way we did for Bihar. Like it was a very concerted, systematic effort that the association made, that now it has nationally also it is known that women's study students are discriminated against. But I think all of us, among us, all those who are writing, or who are writing blog, who are writing in social media, who are writing in newspapers, and who are writing in the various academic journals and newsletters, I think we should hammer this point again and again. Because initially also, like Neera Ben, she was saying, right from 1954, she had been struggling in all academic platforms, in all meetings, in all official body, because she was acceptable as a sociologist. She was a professor of sociology. But the moment she talked about women's studies, people would just behave as if they have not heard her. They would not give any expression either of anger or of liking. So she said this kind of indifference, even she had to face from 1954, when her first book came out, that Women in Modern India, where she talked about this, till 1974, where first at least the vice chancellor told her that okay, SNET should start research unit within the university with the university fund. The UGC was not there. And when the same vice chancellor became chairperson of UGC, she sent the circular to all universities in India to start Women's Studies Center, and the seed money would be given by UGC. So I think if we are consistent in our effort, I think we'll be able to change the situation. Yeah. And now currently there is a sympathetic environment also, where there are people who would listen to us, and IAWS is also very proactive.
Yeah, Vibhuti
Ma'am,
must be you. I don't know whether you have informed. There will be a national convention.
Yeah.
IAWS will be holding in February,
With a
wherein
single agenda.
you will also be invited.
Yeah.
The students forum representatives will be invited,
And
and
with a single agenda of challenges before women's studies.
women's
Women's
studies.
studies as a discipline, women's
ma'am,
studies professionals within the centers, and what happens to the students of women's studies. So all three
Yeah,
aspects will be debated whole day in the national conference of IAWS in the
that is
third week of February.
20th February. Yesterday we
February.
had the meeting, the women's
Yes.
studies committee.
Yeah.
So Saturday, so you will all be invited to share your feedback also.
Yeah.
So
And
that
at
will
the
be
end of it,
circulated.
there'll be resolution and memorandum, which would be
Yes,
given
yes,
to both Ministry of Education as well as UGC. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. There is
ma'am,
a
ma'am, I
question from
wanted to ask one question.
Yeah. You are Yamini John?
Yes,
No,
yes,
ma'am,
please.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
ma'am,
Yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah. Yes. Please go ahead.
ma'am,
You
I'm
have some
Sulochna
problem?
Pandit.
Ha,
Ma'am, I'm Sulochna Pendekar from Goa.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, ma'am, just wanted to ask you one question. Is the Department of Women and Child Development Centers put women studies as a requirement
No,
for qualification?
they haven't put. No, I have not seen with any state
Not
government.
yet,
That's
not
what we have to
yet,
demand. We have to. That's
not yet.
what we have to demand. That which
Yeah,
are
the
the
very women and
avenues.
child development is not.
Which are the avenues within the government bodies, women and child development department, then rural development department, tribal development department, ministry of HRD, ministry of education, everywhere. I think women studies students can play, women studies degree holders can play very important role. So I think we have to give all these technical details also to the
Okay.
to the ministries and the decision makers, no, that these are the capacities of the women studies degree holders, and their energy and their intellectual input would be very useful to strengthen the department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, there's a question from Ramya MS. I'm working as an administration officer in an NGO related to women and empowerment and child development. And I have completed my MBB in marketing. Is there any option through distance mode for women studies? And I'm 35 plus.
Yes, there is a very good, very robust and very good program in IGNU, the School of Gender and Development Studies. And I was also the chief editor of one of the degree. They have several degrees, MA in Gender and Development, MA in Women and Gender Studies. So I think this course is very good. There are 20 papers. All the lessons are also there, the units of all these courses, they are written by some of the best women studies experts in our country. And there are audio lectures, there are video lectures, there is a face-to-face, this thing is also there if you have any difficulty. And you can also have a conference call with the core team in School of Gender and Development Studies, where there are 7 faculty. There are 3 professors, 2 associate professors, and 3 assistant professors in that department. So I find IGNU course, and all those who have done MA in Gender and Development Studies from IGNU, they have really benefited a great deal. It's a very rigorous course, and in terms of even value addition, it is very, very important to do that. Over and above that, they have a certificate course, they have a diploma in women's studies, they have certificate course in women's studies. There is a special courses like women in law, wide range of courses IGNU has. The School of Gender and Development Studies has, and everything is in public domain. Even all the teaching lessons, if you just say that E-Gyan Kosh, EGYANKOSH, you get all those lessons, paper wise, course wise. You get all the lessons. They are the blocks. Each block is of 120 pages. Within that, you have units, and in units there are self-study material. There are questions which can be useful, and you have to submit several assignments also, and dissertation you have to do for that. But it's a good course, very good course. Professor Nilima Srivastav, she is the director of School of Gender and Development Studies. She answers.
Apart from that, there are also other universities in the regions in southern region, and of course other regions also. Universities offering women studies.
That is online distance mode.
No, distance mode. We in Bharatidasan, it is weekend part-time weekend course, enabling the working women also to join. Mother Teresa is distance mode. Alagappa is distance mode. So something that is apart from IGNO, it is also there in other universities. Madras University here. Must be other part of the country.
But distance mode MA Women's Studies I haven't come across except for IGNU. But otherwise there are one paper in every discipline that SNDT has. Every discipline has one paper.
Mother Teresa was the pioneering institution, which started way back. Several of our teachers had here who are head of the departments of women's studies had their MA, MPhil and all from Mother Teresa University.
Okay.
And in Karnataka also a couple of universities are offering a distance mode. One the women's university is offering, and I'm sure this Tirupati Mahila University also must be offering.
But on distance mode, or distance mode, a full MA program, or
yeah, distance mode only.
Okay. So that's
And yeah, there is one more question repeatedly asked, Bhuputi, that is about somebody is asking war. Any institution which is working, organization working on war and its effect on women.
War
Any
and its,
organization?
that is a Center for Peace and Conflict Resolution. No, Bombay University has one center, which was earlier headed by Dr. Gautam Gawli. So was dealing with war and this thing. Otherwise, there are basically Commonwealth human
In
rights.
Delhi, some of the institutes we have done that Women's Asia. We also got some funding support from them, and other human rights organization which is primarily working on this.
Viscomp is also working. No, Viscomp, WISCOMP.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah. They are also working on this. They organize courses.
If you Google it, you will get it definitely.
WISCOMP, Viscomp, because the Nobel Prize which His Holiness Dalai Lama got, he gave to this Viscomp Foundation. So that money is gone. And from there, they are doing the peace education. And there is a TIS has also started in collaboration with when His Holiness Dalai Lama, he came to inaugurate the course. So TIS also has one course on peace and conflict resolution, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Mumbai, they have. Hello.
So thank you very much. I think today we have been extending for more than 1.5 hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Because
participants is very, and there are many who are not in women's studies but are interested. So they have also joined. No? So very important. Yeah. So thank you, Dr.
I only request you all to be there every week, Wednesday, but we have been arranging these lectures for the sake of students, and try to find yourself connected and be available. Today, just because it is on career opportunities, you could be here, but try to be there for other lectures also. So I thank Professor Vibhuti for making yourself. In fact, we approached her long back, a month back, and she was committed all the days, and she could only give this date. But it is very good that we could also. Oh, Dr. Kadambari is here. So I'm happy that whatever is required, that is a very important requirement which this forum has been expecting for. And Professor Vibhuti, because I could not join as I had another program to attend, and I had to be there to moderate. So that is why I couldn't be present. I could only join late. So I'll be listening to the recorded message, and I'd certainly whatever you expected would have got reached. And we will have some other discussion some other days also. We will invite Professor Vibhuti to be here with us. And thank you once again on behalf of this forum, and also from on behalf of the organizing institutions. I think there will be a formal vote of thanks from the student side. Whoever is doing, please.
Aisha Zabin. Okay.
Hello. I think the session ends with a question, which is asked by Vibhuti. What is to be done by all of us, which is for the sake of the women's studies. So we should think about it seriously. And thank you, ma'am, for your insightful lecture. And we express on behalf of the AWSS and SF and the and its organizers and other organizers, I express our gratitude and thanks to you, ma'am. Thanks for everyone who actively participated here. So there are some unmet questions here, but the time is over, I think. So I think we can continue the discussion. So once again, I thank you, ma'am, and all the participants who actively participated here.
Thank you for
we can share those questions to madam. And get it answered and share there in the group. Okay.
Yes.
Please copy those questions and share to madam. Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Kadamini's question is about the online course on violence against women. So I think there are many online courses. 3net is there, but not exclusively on violence against women. 3net is a course run by 6 NGOs: Sakhi in Trivandrum, Maitri in Hyderabad, Akshara in Mumbai, the Jagori in Delhi, and they are running that. It is 3net, in which component on violence is very much there, but it is in the context of general understanding on the gender issues, which are important for women's movement. So that course is quite useful. And Sangat also has the course for South Asia. All South Asian countries, they have the course. 1 year, one course in Hindi, one course in English, in which all the 9 countries of South Asia, they come together. In that also, the unit on violence is very heavy. It's given great importance. And 1 billion rising campaign, which they have, 1 billion rising, they organize online training programs on violence against women. Yeah. Thank you. So I think, yeah, that takes care of the last question also. Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was,
Thank you.
the question and answer session was extremely important and inspiring.
Yeah.
And Mani Mekla, you are really a dynamic leader. You are a leader by example. The way you have created the democratic platforms, and yeah, I'm really, really touched. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to the students.
Thank you.
So the core committee is really working hard.
Very
Thank you.
hard,
Thank you
yes.
very much.
Thank you. Very well organized. Thank you. Okay.
Now we can wind up the session.
Yes, you can wind up the session. Yes. Yeah.
Everyone can leave here.
Yeah.
So before that, we all invite you for the next session, for the university session. We'll update through mail and through WhatsApp. Okay, thank you all.